So, is democracy on life support, or for that matter, completely dead? Well, the short answer is no, but it is in the worst, longest downturn of the modern era. Most credible data sets and experts show sustained deterioration in democratic quality, civil liberties, and rule of law, alongside high public dissatisfaction in more countries than we have seen in recent years, including in the United States, where Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating in the last 52 years outside of his first term. So I understand why people say democracy is dead or dying. There are clear pictures of decline with small pockets of resilience, but it isn't an all out collapse here. So let's talk about the problem first. Now, Freedom House reports that for the 19th straight year, global freedom declined, with 60 countries worsening and only 34 improving in 2024. That means both the breadth of countries and the depth of the decline is such that core rights and participation metrics are going in the wrong direction. Democracy Without Borders reports that the current autocratization wave is entering its third decade. Critically, autocracies now seem to outnumber democracies worldwide. More people live in autocratizing countries than in democratizing ones, and you can honestly now argue that the United States belongs in that metric for 2025. Now, the Economic Intelligence Unit's Democracy Index backs this up. The global democracy average fell to 5.17 on a 0 to 10 scale in 2024. And although in 2024 the United States remained a flawed democracy, while Nordic countries and a handful of others sustained high performance, we're going to have to see where that rating goes in 2025 under the new Trump administration. Now, International IDEA tracks institutional quality across representation, rights, and rule of law. For 8 straight years, more countries have declined than improved, with the steepest drops taking place in representation and rights, even among some of the more historically strong democracies. Now, the rule of law backbone is buckling too. The World Justice Project's 2024 index shows 7 consecutive years of global decline. 57% of countries fell year over year, and 6.3 billion people now live where rule of law has weakened since 2016, including the United States. Constraints on government power and fundamental rights are the most common pressure points in this realm. Now, public sentiment matches the data. A June 2025 Pew survey across 23 countries found a median 58% dissatisfied with how their democracy is working. Persistent frustration fuels volatility, anti-establishment voting, and tolerance for illiberal and frankly inhumane quick fix leaders and policies. So given all of that, how can I say that democracy isn't necessarily dead? Well, because there's a more precise conclusion for it. Democracy is eroding from within, but not through things like mass coups, but through legalistic power grabs, captured media ecosystems, weakened judiciaries, and degraded electoral integrity. The good news is it's not a one-way spiral, and we can impact it. In 2024 and 2025, we did see record election activity worldwide, peaceful transfers of power in several states, and measurable improvements in a minority of countries, including places with little democratic history. Even as rule of law erodes in larger nations, some countries are improving on corruption control. The antibodies, so to speak, exist here. They're just under a sustained attack. Democracy isn't dead, but it is sick, and the sickness is chronic. But chronic does not mean terminal. We can fight back. We can renew guardrails, independent courts, free media, impartial election administration, and strong civil society. I get it. All of that is easy to say into a microphone and very hard to do. Our polarization keeps tilting us towards competitive autocracy. But to be an antibody to autocracy, you have to start local. You have to vote in every election and help others register, and then get them to the polls, along with yourself. Train as a poll worker or nonpartisan observer so rules are followed. Show up at city council, school board, and county meetings. Request agendas, submit comments, and ask for recorded votes. Subscribe to and donate to credible local and investigative journalism, and verify before you share anything online. Support independent courts, serve on juries, court watch, and back legal aid and rule of law groups. Build civic muscle by joining nonpartisan community groups that bridge divides, host forums, and practice civil dialogue. Protect the information space with strong digital security. Push platforms such as TikTok, Facebook, Twitter X, etc., as well as representatives for transparency, and report coordinated disinformation. Press your representatives weekly if necessary to fund election administration projects, protect whistleblowers, enforce anti corruption laws, and defend free media. Lead ethically at work. Refuse pressure to bend rules, protect records, and use documented processes. Teach the next generation media literacy and civic basics. None of this is really glamorous, honestly, but antibodies rarely are. However, like any curable illness, which autocratization is just that, when enough antibodies arrive, the disease is eradicated.